So it's Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by legendary Cruiserweight, of course, and now top pundit for Sky Sports, Johnny Nelson. Johnny, how you doing, mate?
I'm fine, thank you, Danny. Long time no see. Long time no see, but all good, all good.
Glad to hear it. Johnny, there's so much to talk about at the moment, but I want to start a bit close to home with Sky. Recently announced Sky Sports box office, the big rematch, finally over the line, Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Smith. There was a bit of concern, I guess, that it might not happen straight away after, the manner of the defeat and the rematch clause and so on. And then the talk about a possible fight between Eubank and Conor Benn, which now doesn't look to be happening anytime soon. How relieved, I guess, are you to get this one over the line?
Danny, I think a lot of the time the cat is set amongst the pigeons to make people scatter, panic, and speculate. I think this fight was always happening. That's what we know on the inside. You know, when people are, everybody can talk, you say this was nearly done X, Y, Z, and it's just to keep the conversation going. The fight was always happening. Yes, Liam was frustrated because he wanted to get it over and done with it as soon as. I think personally, I thought to myself, what could Chris do differently? What Chris could do differently, looking at it now, is he could stick to stick to what he's good at. I think he overcooked it, outsmarted himself, and tried to outbox somebody who was an astute fighter that had done it from the amateurs through to the professionals. And Liam is that fighter. He can box well. Chris thought he could beat him in his own game. Chris should have gone in there and does what Chris has done. He throws a lot of punches, high work rate, and that's what he should have stuck and worked on. But he's kind of stuck in between a style that he's trying to adopt and his own personal style. And I think now the only difference he could make, he's not going to become a really clever technical fighter overnight to devise a boxing plan, technical plan to outbox Liam Smith. He's not going to do that. He needs to do what he does and do it well. Get in there and let the shots go. Get in there and try and fight fire with fire. Even if it's 6 rounds, ban on it. That's how he's got to fight. And that's what he's got to stick with. I know he's had some wise heads talking to him, advising him, helping him in camp. I know David's been advising him, David Hay. But in reality, I'd be very surprised to see if there was any other different outcome. I think it might go longer, but I think Liam Smith does it again unless he really thinks it's that easy and he dismisses Chris. But the thing is, when we did the gloves off for this fight, Liam came down by himself to the studio, got the train down, walked in by himself, hands in his pockets, very matter of fact. Chris had his team with him. And I've got to give it Chris. Chris held his own. Chris, he was in the eye of the storm. Liam said, what are you saying? And Chris came out with a hit by the elbow. He was shot in a million and all this sort of stuff. And Chris was very convincing in regards to his defense, the reason why the fight turned out the way it did. So you've got to give it him. He's got a lot of fun. And that's why I'm looking forward to how this fight turns out.
Is it a concern that Chris, although he's had, wise counsel coming into the camp, is still working, as far as we know, with Roy Jones Jr.? And a lot of people have said that's why he's in between styles, if you like, as you alluded to earlier.
Oh, I'd agree with you. I do agree. I think I rate Roy. He's a good friend, Roy. He's a very clever guy. And sometimes it's the fighter you're working with. And so what could Roy do? Roy's got a clever boxing head on him. I don't think Roy, the intelligence and the wisdom and the experience he's had, he's not going to be able to pour it all in Chris. I think Chris, Chris has not been in that mix, that style of fight for long enough to do it at such a high level against Liam. I think that's where the problem will be.
And then I mentioned Conor Benn earlier. He's now obviously not going to be fighting Eubank. He may not be fighting anyone anytime soon. It wasn't too long ago, we saw the article in the Times, I believe it was, new members of his team on the medical side talking about reasons why he may have failed the test for clomiphene. We were given indications, certainly off the record, that it was going to be a positive outcome from the UCAD investigation for Conor. It was going to be next Monday, then the following Monday, and we still haven't got that final verdict, which just leads to more speculation. Have you heard anything? Is there anything? Are you kind of, have you got a feeling it's going to go one way or the other at this point?
Dan, it's all speculation. Nothing's changed. The facts are the facts. And so everybody on one side can speculate, this is going to be said, that's going to happen, it's going to be positive X, Y, Z. Nothing's changed. The conversation, the speculation will carry on. Conor Benn, I don't know how long it's since he's boxed. He could have done almost a 2-year ban. Just use form on his sword, take the ban and gone on with his career. I understand, as far as he's concerned, he's done no wrong. But nothing's changed. So when you link him with this fight and that fight and possible fights all over the world or whatever, I think it's taken a bit of time for Conor to kind of say, look, I understand now people's frustrations and I was pissed off with people because of how they were with me. I understand where they're coming from. He's got to really eat a big piece of humble pie and say, you know what? I believe what I believe. You know, it doesn't matter what you think. I'm going to take my ban. I want to get on with my career. I'm a fan of Conor and the growth and the excitement he brings to it. And on an official level, he failed the test. Nothing's changed, no matter what he said, what he's created, and what is whispered to be happening around around Conor. And again, it doesn't matter what he said. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. It's keeping that wheel turning, keeping his name in the mix. I get it. I totally get it. But like I said about Lawrence Okolie when he was arguing the toss with Eddie Hearn and he was missing valuable development time as a fighter, Conor is doing the same. And so it's a case of what do you want? Why do you want it? You know, what's the argument? The whole point is you want to fight, you want to get on with your career. There's a situation that's arose. You want to clear your name, all right, pride and ego, or the things that are the only person that's suffering is you.
That's very well said, Johnny. I want to just move on to the heavyweights, if I may. I know you've spoken about this already, but the Anthony Joshua Dillian Whyte rematch was given a bit of added spice, or at least added interest recently, with AJ's comments on the Boxing News podcast regarding his former coach Rob McCracken. Carl Froch obviously took great umbrage at those comments, and I can understand why. I thought AJ kind of brought Froch into it in the first place, referring to his nose being ample evidence of McCracken's lack of defensive nous. Not sure how fair that is, but what did you make of these comments from AJ? It didn't seem like he was kind of led into talking about McCracken negatively. It just seemed like something maybe that had been on his mind for some time.
Well, if I'm honest, Danny, I've not heard the interview. I heard a lot of things were attributed to AJ saying certain things about Rob McCracken. I find it hard to believe it. And so unless I hear it, I'm really struggling to actually believe he was so disrespectful it came across as being disrespectful to Rob McCracken. I think in regards to him and Carl Froch, you know, Carl Froch has always dug AJ out whenever he's got the chance, and vice versa. It might be a big deal to us when these two are getting at each other. When Carl says something about AJ, now AJ said something back about him. You know, these two guys, they know each other, and it's a level that the average man in the street can't have that kind of slanging match with either of them, but they can with each other. I suppose it's like two opposing football players, Ronaldo and I don't know. Wayne Rooney or whatever, and you were playing for separate teams. One might know Beckham got sent off, and nobody wanted to kill Ronaldo, but these guys are actually friends in the dressing room. So I just think, in regards to AJ and Froch, I think the public need to not get carried away with in regards to the comments that were supposed to allegedly be made by AJ about Rob McCracken. I've not heard it. I don't believe. I'd like to hear the context it was put in. I don't believe AJ would really disrespect Robert like because now he's got a lot of respect for him. He might have said, you know what, Robert took me as far as I can. It might have meant Robert took me as far as he could. Now, the stuff I'm learning now, we should have known this years ago. I think Robert worked for Anthony Joshua at the time, did brilliant with him as an amateur, did brilliant with him as a pro. It might get to a stage where now Anthony Joshua is mature enough to absorb more information that he can get his head around. So therefore, he's seeing different trainers that are showing him different things, thinking, "Oh my God, I wish I'd have known this. I wish I'd known that." Time is everything. He's mature enough and has experience enough to be able to deal with these new things that he's finding out. But at the time, Rob McCracken did a great job with him. I don't believe Anthony Joshua has purposely. I don't believe he's gone out there to purposely disrespect Rob McCracken. I think it probably just came across wrong.
So yeah, Johnny, sorry about that. We just lost our connection. But yeah, one of the other comments AJ made on the Boxing News podcast that I wanted to get your take on was that he felt at the time McCracken was too invested in the Olympic team, the amateur side, with his role as GB performance director, rather than the pro boxing that he was overseeing, Joshua being the focal point of that. What do you make of that? Because I guess, when it was working, AJ didn't voice any issues with it then, or at least not publicly. But it's always going to be a difficult balancing act, I suppose, having.
So it's about the growth of a fighter. So it worked for Anthony Joshua when he was an amateur. It was all good, all hunky dory. It worked for Anthony Joshua when he was coming through up to a fight in Klitschko because he had the best of the best help, attention, sparring partners, conditioning. He was taken care of. So it worked for him then. He's just probably outgrown the shoes he was in. So therefore he thought, no, I need one-on-one treatment. I need special treatment. I've outgrown that now. And I get that. But you can't really complain saying so basically, he's saying he's too invested in the Olympics. Well, good. Because again, he brought people like Anthony Joshua through. And they'll keep doing that. So you can't really knock it when it doesn't suit you. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Brendan always said, fighters will use, abuse, and disuse. And that sounds like this is the case. And it might, I don't know, AJ might regret that, but used Rob McCracken in regards to getting where he needed to be, abused in regards to saying, well, I'm there now. You come with me or neglect everybody else. Accuse in regards to he didn't work on my defense how he should have been. So this didn't work for me. And unfortunately, that's the nature of the fight game. You've got to be selfish when you're a fighter. You've got to be the kind of fighter that thinks, no, I want what's best for me. It's not until you finish your career then you realise, well, that was a bit of a selfish move. That's what you've got to do. That's how you got to think. Depends on what you want.
What do you make of the move generally? Because I think the one issue I would have is that if AJ's worried about not being the priority previously with McCracken, he's not necessarily going to be the priority at the gym he's in now, obviously working alongside the likes of Errol Spence. What do you make of the move to Derek James generally?
But he's surrounded by people and fighters and situations he can learn off. So I suppose working with Rob, I'm assuming he's top of the tree. So it's more beneficial to everybody else below AJ than it was to AJ. Whereas now AJ's in a situation where he's benefiting from everything around it, the experiences of Spence, the experiences of all of the fighters that were there. So now he's in that situation. I get it because sometimes you'll as a fighter, if you're the top of the tree in the gym, and everybody's benefiting by sparring with you because you're big, you're fast, you're sharp. Great. But what about you? So you want to think, well, what about me? I need to work on me. So AJ's probably in a position where he is now no longer the one where everybody's benefiting from. He is now benefiting from everybody else and the experience around him. So I kind of get that.
And switching from AJ to Tyson Fury, always kind of interlinked. Fury is taking a step away from, I don't want to say from traditional boxing because it is going to be fought under traditional boxing rules, but he's fighting an MMA superstar in Francis Ngannou in his next fight. drawn a fair bit of criticism. A lot of it aimed at the WBC for not enforcing a mandatory obligation on him, so allowing him the opportunity to do this. What do you make of the whole thing?
Well, you remember Ali was fighting the karate guy, the kickboxer guy, at the
Yeah.
back end of his career, and probably earned more money than he did in most of his fights. Um, Tyson Fury is now a prize fighter that's making ridiculous dough with minimum risk. And so looking at it like that, you can't blame him. So as long as he can get away with it, as long as he can do it, as long as he can hustle whoever it is that's paying him that kind of dough, you can't blame him. That's what he's doing. As far as he's concerned, he's reached as high as he wants to reach. As far as he's concerned, he's achieved what he wants to achieve. As far as he's concerned, now he's making enough money, for him, kids and their kids and their kids. That's what he's doing.
And when he's made this decision, he knows that he's going to get a hell of a lot of stick for it. He knows fans are going to be up in arms, or a certain group of fans, and he doesn't care, which is in some ways admirable. Do you kind of admire that? Because you always went your own path as a fighter.
Let's not forget, Tyson Fury has been and had stick a long time ago. He's actually used to this kind of stuff. It means nothing to him. So he loves the adulation, the support from the fans. He appreciates it. But in reality, he's been there before. So he's thick-skinned. Remember at one point he was a pariah. Now he's a hero. So this is nothing new to him. So we can handle it, but I said he can handle it. We're making a big deal of it, but he can handle it. He knows what he's doing. He knows, he can say and do what he wants.
And while we won't see Fury defend the WBC belt this year, we will see a world heavyweight title fight next month, as Alexander Usyk puts the unified championships on the line against Daniel Dubois. It'd be wonderful to get another Brit with the world titles there. Look ahead to a future all-British undisputed fight. But Dubois enters this as a huge underdog. Do you give him much chance? And if so, what should the tactics be?
I'd love to give Dubois a massive chance. I'd love to be able to say that and do that. But in reality, I'll always back the Brit. In reality, I don't give him a chance. In reality, I think I've seen chinks in him as a fighter at this stage. I always back the Brit. But if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is this. I think there's a chink in his armour that actually for him, it's at this stage fight something like Usyk will not work for him. Usyk will find him out. Usyk will break his heart. Usyk will break him down. Dubois got a puncher's chance, and this might not sound nice, to his fans, his family, and all those around him. Dubois is a good fighter, but there's a chink in Dubois' armory that Usyk will expose, that Usyk will take advantage of, that Usyk is far too smart to let him off the hook with. So to give him a chance, yeah, he's got a puncher's chance, and that's it.
And just finally, we've got obviously a huge fight taking place this weekend between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. First ever undisputed welterweight title fight in the four-belt era. Both unbeaten. Both, from what we can tell, still close to or at their primes as well. Mouth-watering prospects. What do you make of that fight? How do you weigh it up? Who do you give the edge to?
Great fight. It's one of those fights that you can ask anybody and everybody. So unless they're from the Spence or the Crawford camp, nobody is sure of how this fight turns out. I was first leaning towards Spence, then Crawford, then Spence, then Crawford. I'm looking at fights, and it was a fight that Spence was involved in, and he switched off mid-fight. I can't remember what it was, and he was like, I thought, I'm splitting hairs here. I'm thinking, has he got quit in him? It was like, I can't remember the fight where Spencer stood there, he was looking at the rope, he kind of switched off a little bit. And I thought, what is he doing? I can't remember the fight. And that's the only chink I can see in him. And if he's got any quit in him, if he's got that kind of switch off concentration in him, Crawford will do him. But that's all. It's too hard. I can make an argument for both fights to win. I'm looking forward to this fight because you've got two elite fighters that are fighting. It's not like one guy's going to win, definitely going to win over the other. You've got two fights that are going to give their best, and I don't think this is the last time they'll fight each other. I think this fight will be that good; it will happen again.
I think that may have been the Ugas fight that you're referring to, where he kind of got buzzed and then kind of wasn't throwing back for a little bit, and then kind of
got buzzed, switched off, and he's like up against the ropes, and he's like, "I'm like, you can't do that shit, man. Not at this level." And that's the only thing I can look at. So I'm not saying he's got quitting in, but if that was it, I'm like, yo, it's the wrong place. That's the wrong place to find to have that
stuff. Johnny, always an absolute pleasure to catch up with you. Hopefully next time we'll do it in person as the new season kicks off. But yeah, until then, take care and keep doing what you're doing because you're smashing it in the gym by all accounts.
Living in the gym, man. Living in the gym. You know, summer bodies are made in winter, my friend. In winter.
Brendan would be proud.
See you soon.
All right, take care.
Yeah, he would be.